Hello and welcome to the One People Show. Hello and welcome everyone to this week's One People Roundtable. It is January 17 here in Australia.
January
Tuesday
16
morning.
Everywhere else.
And somewhere in between for most of you. So, today, there's been lots of rabbit holes over the last week. I know that I'm pretty sure last week we said I've got no interest in rabbit holes, but at the same time, there are still things that draw your attention and pin you, and whether you call it a rabbit hole or not, doesn't really matter. You get called to look at things. And that's kind of where we've both been in the last week. Dee down many more than me. I've been more about this whole magnetic thing, to be honest. But
I want to really get into that. I'm just trying to see if Anne is here. Anne is here. Good. Anne is going to talk to us a little bit about that once we get into it.
Well, Ben did say he was going to join us, but he wouldn't be here for long. So I suggest when he gets on, we go with what you wanted to talk to him about.
Well, it's we'll see. As we'll get through it. I don't even know. Like, I've had one of those weekends where things have just gone smack, smack, smack. And I've had multiple, sometimes conversations going with different people at the same time. And then I've sent people the wrong messages. Messages that are meant for on one subject and end up going to someone else. You're like, wait, no, just skip that one. That's another research. That's another rabbit hole I'm going through with someone else over here. One of the big ones, though, was the magnetics. And we know the physical effects of, for example, geomagnetics. We know that solar storms, geomagnetic storms that are coming through something to do with the sun, we know they affect us physically. I mean, recorded, like if there's a geomagnetic storm on, incidences of road rage go through the roof, incidences of suicide go through the roof. It affects us physically with, headaches, body pains, etc., but it also affects us mentally and emotionally. The big one, though, was when one of our awesome unfuckers posted a seemingly very interesting piece of paper, and it's homeopathics, dealing with magnetics, the magnetic north, magnetic south.
Is Anne going to join us?
Anne, are you there?
I believe she is.
I saw her. She's here. I just want to make sure that she's, here.
Okay.
I took the entire two pages of the homeopathic, so the North Pole, South Pole pages, and I put them into my Scribd account so I could embed it right into the article that'll go with the show. Because I think I want everyone to take a look at the indicators, if you will, the symptoms. And you can talk about this, Lise, because you're way more well-versed in homeopathy than I am. I have just enough knowledge to be dangerous.
Yeah, but we've got Anne here who can go even further, so that's awesome. But essentially, what you're looking at with a symptoms list of what they call South Pole remedy, which is a remedy created from the South Pole end of a magnet, is pretty much fit the description of what everyone's calling ascension symptoms, for one, or what we collectively have been talking about a lot in both of these shows and in the UU room and in LMH about what people are experiencing, would appear to be symptoms of what they call South Pole. So, and if you're in a position to unmute, or I can unmute you if you can't do it yourself, there you go.
I'm just trying to see if I can see her commenting.
Yeah. Oh no, there she is.
There she is. Hi, Anne.
Do you want to, just for the sake of people who don't understand homeopathics very well, when it comes to curing a remedy, like understanding its, I think most people do get that homeopathy works on the law of cure. So it's like cures like.
Mm-hmm.
So can you just explain to people who don't understand how that works, how they come up with a remedy?
Okay, so when a homeopath wants to make a new remedy, they either give a potentized dose of a substance, or they expose people to an energy for a period of time. It's normally about 30 days. And during that time, these are healthy.
These are always healthy people.
Yeah.
Like you start with very healthy people.
You do. You start with very healthy people. You make sure, you know their symptom picture before they start the proving, so that you don't include anything that they might have in the proving symptoms. And then over the period of the 30 days, every single day they keep a really detailed journal of everything that they feel, all their sensations, their appetites, their dreams, their fears, their physical aches and pains. It's all noted down in extreme detail. At the end of the proving, all of the symptoms are collated, and the symptoms that are common to most people then become the remedy picture. So in reverse, when somebody comes to a homeopath presenting with this particular symptom picture, they're then given a dose of this remedy. So that's the homeopathic principle, like cures like. What can cause symptoms then can also cure them.
Yep.
Okay.
And I want to just one thing, because people talk about symptoms. And I want to just clarify this. When we're talking in the realm of homeopathy, the symptoms are not, I got a headache.
No.
Or I had, an itch on my arm. They're exceptionally detailed to the physical sensation associated to the exact point of where those physical sensations are. So when we read these documents, they're extremely detailed symptoms. It's not just like I say, oh, I got a headache. It's way more exact.
Exactly. We have a book of symptoms called a repertory. There are probably about 5,000 homeopathic remedies at this point, and probably a good 2,000 of them produce headache symptoms. So our job as homeopaths is to really narrow down the choice of remedy by looking at the person's descriptive language in, as you say, great detail. We will be able to match exactly what they say to a remedy picture. So what you see or what you have in your document are two provings that were done originally by Samuel Hahnemann, who was the founder of homeopathy, in the late 1800s. And they were then collated by another homeopath called Allen. Now, the interesting thing to me is that Allen lists them as a nosode. Now, a nosode is a remedy that we use when all else fails. When the indicated remedy doesn't work, that's when we go for a deeper acting remedy. Most nosodes are made from disease products, like carcinosin is made from a cancer tumor. tuberculinum is made from a tubercle and so on and so on. But these two are unusual. The magnetic north and magnetic south poles have also been included. So that implies that they did have quite an understanding of the effects of magnetism in the late 1800s, early 1900s. But it just really shocked me. The reason that I got to look at that was that I've been asked to look at a case, two siblings who live in Switzerland have extreme curvature of the spine. And it's not unusual for siblings to have that because there's a genetic component. But I was thinking, God, they're really just bent out of shape. And then I was thinking, ooh, I wonder if the Hadron Collider in CERN has anything to do with that. Could it be that they're just being pulled off because they live, in an extraordinarily healthy life? They're very healthy parents. It's not in the family genetics. And they're extremely sensitive children. They both be, one is on the spectrum and the other is verging. Very, very sensitive to energy. So that's what made me look up magnets, the magnetic remedies in the first place. And I just couldn't believe it when I read the symptom pictures. Because, like you say, Lisa, this is what we've all been complaining. We've all complained of some of these symptoms at some point or other in the last several years. You'll notice that there aren't a lot of female symptoms, and I think the reason for that is that the majority of provers were male. But the symptoms that there are, it's one of the main differences between the North and the South Pole is that the South Pole produces hemorrhage and flooding during the menstrual period, whereas the North Pole produces the opposite. That's one of the main differences between the two poles. So yeah, I was,
well, that again fits with what was being experienced. People having extremely heavy periods, or even bleeding after menopause, or
In November, we discussed it briefly on the show. We discussed it quite thoroughly in the Unfuckers group, where a high percentage of the women in the Unfuckers group were experiencing, not just in the group, but people that we knew in our own lives, people that you just knew around us on the street type thing. They were all complaining about horrific periods in November, early to mid-November specifically, where heavy periods, horrible cramps, even women who were in menopause, all of a sudden having a period after 6 months, a year, 2 years. Women who'd had hysterectomies were having period type cramps and going, I ain't got one of those to get cramps, but I got cramps. Explain that to me.
Hey, I have a question. I'm sorry, I have a question here. Okay.
Hi, Dawn.
So, hey there. Okay, so when we talk about magnetics, does this line up with like the Rife machine and the magnetics like a Rife machine would use with frequencies? I'm asking because I have one of these in my freaking closet. I paid $5,000 for this machine. I never unpacked it. It has been sitting there for 2 years. I'm not shitting you guys. And now all of a sudden you're bringing this up, and I'm like, because I was thinking, is there a way, like you guys know what I do, so is there a way I could use that machine depending on the type of cancer the patient had? Could I insert frequencies into that particular oil and send it out depending on what was needed? And would it hold?
Interesting.
What you're sounding like is a twist on the Rife machine that actually would end up looking like the AIM program.
I would say yes. I would say yes.
And yeah, I would say in my mind I can see that, but
because they're talking about frequencies and electrical currents, and so there's a signature. Remember we talked about signatures earlier about different stuff, right? So each the plant molecule and the chemical breakdown from this to that, boom, 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 and then based upon the type of plant that you have, would it be?
We're talking about the frequency. Could we hold the frequency in it?
Yes, you could.
I would think so.
Good. It's the same thing when they bless. When you see a priest bless a cup of water and make it get divided, boom, 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 boom. Monks do it all the time. Shit.
Okay, Dawn, there's a program that I was on for 10 years called the AIM program.
Okay.
And it works in a similar way. And it works holographically because it actually works on your photograph. You don't need to physically take anything.
Oh my freaking God. Okay, oh my God. I can't even believe you're saying this, Lisa, because I enrolled my mother in that program. And I paid $100 a month for her to be in there. I took her. I know.
Okay, well, I was on for 10 years, and I had a lot of benefit from it, right?
Yeah.
So what you're thinking of doing or describing sounds like a step closer to that.
I mean, okay, so my first question is, like, I was very overwhelmed by all those lists of frequencies. I don't know if y'all have ever looked at the Rife frequencies, and it's very complex. And I never really, I guess, felt comfortable enough to go forward with it because I wasn't sure, right? I didn't want to hurt anybody. But now, with y'all talking about it, it makes me really wonder if I do have the ability to change the medicine that I send out specifically to the ailment.
Okay, now I've got a question because I've heard of the Rife machine. Does it work on frequency?
Magnetics.
Magnetics. So it works on specifically magnetic frequency.
Yes. I mean, I've got like the top of the line, everything with, I mean, you guys I could open my own clinic if I wanted to, but I just don't. I hide out here and do my thing. But, it is interesting because, I mean, I wish as a group we could utilize this machine somehow because it's just sitting in my freaking closet.
Well, I'm sure we'll probably get comments later.
Yeah, and we'll put this out with this and say, like, if anyone's got any information.
Maybe we could come up with some maybe we could come up with some tests, and I could pull it out and put the camera on it and see what we could do. I don't know. Could we move the current through the monitor? Could we move it to everyone at the same time?
Just a quick shot here. A Rife machine basically is a frequency selective disruptor type device. The current is very low, very low. There's not a lot of power. What it is it's a selective frequency which is designed to disrupt by resonance certain pathogens or objects or whatever. It's not really, there's not going to be a lot of magnetics involved because the current is very, very low.
Doesn't it depend on the machine you got though?
Because what you're doing is you're actually applying this resonant frequency to the body, and it's what you're doing is it's like thinking of shaking the whole body at a certain resonant frequency, and certain objects that are resonant or that react to that frequency will disrupt internally. So I mean, if you applied a lot of power, you kill the person.
Well, yeah, I've got some extra pieces I got to the machine to boost it up, to boost the power too. But I mean, in your opinion, could I morph or change, let's say, a medicine for the body to, would it hold?
Yes. The intent, especially if there's water involved, because what I've been able to glean is that water will hold intent and projected fields. Let's just put it that way. So if you focus the output of a Rife machine onto a liquid, specifically the water, it can carry that forward. It's not going to be super strong, and it may take a fair amount of time and a fair amount of exposure, but you can transfer that specific frequency along with the intent with that medium, being the oil or whatever you're using.
That is incredible.
I wonder if that would
That's true.
I wonder if that translates in terms of the strength you're talking about, like it's really, really weak. I wonder if that translates in the same way that with homeopathy. That the more diluted it is, the stronger it is.
Translate.
And the deeper or deeper
Yes,
activating.
I think a lot of it has to do with the intent. In other words, what you're applying is part of that, but it's the intent behind it that actually provides, hard to say how much, but a good portion of the effectiveness.
Well, no, that would make sense. That we would add our energy and our frequency into
you're the catalyst.
Yeah, with that machine. So
Yeah,
in essence, the joining of with the intention would solidify it in.
That's correct.
There's a lot more to say on this. There's a lot more to say on this. So
we can revisit it. We can revisit it.
Yeah, we need to, and we should actually start a discussion in the room around playing with this idea and playing with this machine.
See, there's a list of frequencies for every cancer out there. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe this is my moment to step into this because I've been scared to. I wasn't comfortable enough to do it at the time. So maybe it's you guys that's going to help me do this because this could take me to the whole nother level with my cancer fighting. You know this.
Yeah. Okay.
All
Well,
right.
there's a couple of things that have come up. Now, there's a guy here in Australia, and I'm not going to give too many details because he's already been heavily, heavily harassed and death threatened. But he purifies and energizes water. And when you take his water, and I've got friends who have seen this actually in person happen, this highly energized water, and it gets spilt onto the ground, what it does is it goes in, it actually pools in lines across the ground. And I will give you, it kind of looks like the spacing is like this. This is an indication of the spacing. And actually what it is what we call north-south. Where's my other image? Oh, I wasn't screen sharing to show you when I did that. So,
We'd like to see your screen, please.
Hang on. Like this. But where's my other little image I have? Get me out of the way. Yeah. Where's the other one? Oh, anyway. For argument's sake, this is the globe, right? That we don't actually have simply what we call a north and a south, top and bottom. That north and south run in bands right across the whole thing. And that they are, I've got to find where they're actually only like this far apart. Okay? Now, where my head's been is if we stop calling them north and south and just think of them as positive and negative.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going, now this is not, oh, surprise, surprise. This is not fully formed in my head yet, right?
Because we do so much stuff that's so fully formed. Come on.
This is still percolating away, but looking at the idea that, because it took me back to levity gravity, all right, as well.
Okay.
So if we don't actually have gravity, which is a pulling force, what we have is levity, which is a pushing. We've got everybody experiencing what appears to be the symptoms of south. I don't want to call it that though.
For the moment, Lise, let's just call it north and south because I want to talk about the different what I saw within the symptoms of the
which would be which in a positive negative sense. Do we know?
I don't know. That's a good question. And Nick's gone to bed, so I can't ask him.
Because then taking it from north-south to positive and negative is one step, but I want to go one step further, which would be just a single resonant frequency. What if, oh God, language is so fucked up these days. What if the planet, plane, globe, whatever,
This thing
that we currently stand on, just had a resonant frequency all over it, and something else was introduced, the opposite frequency was introduced, and just sliced the whole thing up. And what we're experiencing and have been experiencing is the resonant frequency rising or recalibrating and starting to override this introduced countering frequency. Perhaps they're grounded. This other one was grounded at what we call the North Pole, right? Or the North.
Yeah.
You know how sometimes with the chemtrails, well, the weird clouds just look like ripples?
Yeah.
In the same way, let's say that this structure that we stand on did in fact have or does have a source point for this resonant frequency that goes out, right? So the opposite one has a source point that just rippled through it. So what we end up with is ripples of positive, negative, north, south, or whatever you want to call them, right? That's where my head keeps going in terms of the images that keep coming. It feels like a disruption frequency, that's causing ripples. And
well, that's why when Anne brought up Switzerland and CERN, I wanted to bring that into it. So when we talk about magnetics, you have some pretty hardcore theories, north and south. I mean, they're easily testable. The stronger magnet controls the weaker magnet, i.e. if you have a powerful magnet and you've got north at the top, south at the bottom, and you take smaller, weaker magnets, they will automatically align themselves to the alignment of the stronger magnet. So right off the hop, there's aspects to this that just breaks apart. And I talked about this in the Unfuckers room when we had the initial conversation and Anne brought in that document. That we are told what the sun is, for example. And we're told the sun has these poles. And they say things like, for example, that the sun's poles flip every 11 years or 22 years. I can't remember exactly what it is. And the first time I read that, I was like, well, that's fucking bullshit. Because the magnetic poles of Earth would have to, as the weaker poles, would have to flip as well. If the sun is what they say it is, then, and our magnetic field works the way they say it does, and I said, how can any physics student in university or astrophysics student hear this theory and actually not question it? Because it's pretty straightforward. We as humans each have our own magnetic field. And our magnetic fields, what was that, Lise? Did you want to say something?
I just had a thought, but okay, I've written it down so I don't forget. It's all right.
Okay, you wrote it down. Okay. Our magnetic fields, as I started to say at the beginning, is affected by the greater magnetic fields around us, i.e. the Earth's magnetic field or the solar magnetic, the geomagnetics, right? When I looked at this list of symptoms, and what was the word again? I don't want to call it symptoms because that's not quite right. What is it? Provings?
Provings?
Provings. And I'm going to pull up the list. I've actually got the list here, and we can take a look at some of them. These were detailed, and everyone in the Unfuckers group who went through this list was floored. Because, like I said, they're so specific as to what the symptom was, that everyone was like, I've had that, and I've had that, and that, and that. Oh my God, I wouldn't even known how to describe that, and yet that describes exactly what I've been feeling. And I've talked for years now about the fluctuations in the magnetics, and the poles are shifting. And yet
that whole thing doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make
the South Pole's here, but the North one's moving all around up here. That doesn't work.
No, and that is one of the main things that keeps coming up and going, we have a problem here.
But hang on, what my thought was, right, when you were talking then, if there's anything to what I'm visualizing and speculating on right now, it gives me a reason for cell towers, 5G network, these Gwen towers, all of that stuff, because if our environment is correcting itself and this rippled influence, disruption, whatever, is being overwhelmed, they've got to introduce yet another layer of technology to overcome that. And that would make sense. That would give that that makes perfect sense to me.
HARP?
Yeah, all of that.
ELFs, ULFs, the Gwen towers, Wi-Fi. Oh, isn't Australia now completely Wi-Fi? It's all wireless. It's all Wi-Fi everywhere. The same thing here in Malta. It is Wi-Fi fucking everywhere. Okay?
But you know what? I even think that level of technology is starting to fail.
Well,
there are people.
I know technology in general is failing at the moment, it seems like.
Yeah, but well, that's true. Like this basic level of technology, but even this next level of technology is starting to fail too, because those people who are super sensitive, like that live near power, Gwen towers, cell towers, all that sort of stuff, who have felt nothing but the negative effects of those for a long time, are feeling that it's shifting, that their negative influence is decreasing
or being counterbalanced. And
yeah,
that's one of the things I wanted to talk about, because we've talked on the show for eons about various symptoms, etc. In the Unfuckers room for the last over a year now, we've talked about these various symptoms, and we've watched as they've gone like this. In the last year, it's gone crazy. In the last 2-3 months, it's really gone crazy. If there's magnetic flux, if the magnetics are shifting, and we're looking at these provings that are showing, like fucking, I mean, they pinpoint exactly what everyone's been experiencing on multiple levels, not just the South Pole, but also the North Pole, which is why I think, Lisa, you're right about the ripples. If it's north-south doing this, it's why even in those provings you have certain, it's like for a little while, for a month or so, you may have this one couple of symptoms, but they're all on the North Pole chart. And then all of a sudden it's like, it's all the South Pole chart. And it seems to me that it is like we're watching variations as if two frequencies are battling it out, so to speak.
Hey, you guys, Michael just said that they're using radiation, magnetics, and the electrical grids to change our DNA, because that's part of the transhumanistic agenda, that our bodies are not compatible at the moment. So they're trying to use those things to move people's DNA into it. That's what he says. So I just want to add that in.
Okay. I want to, oh, damn it. Hold on. Sorry. I'm trying to find something, because did we talk about this last week? I mean, here's my number one always issue. What did we talk about last week? It was a video, document, article, and it was talking about and I put it in last week's article to go with the show from last week. The professor talking about the solar stuff. Was that last week? I can't remember. About the geomagnetics and the mind control stuff. Was that, did we discuss that last week, guys? Did we discuss?
I don't recall discussing that, to be honest with you.
Okay, so no. Okay, sorry. This is where I said, this was a conversation I had with someone else. It wasn't here on the show. And I'll have to find those videos now and put those in the article. It's a documentary. I put it in the Unfuckers room earlier this week. Documentary from the Discovery Channel. So we're talking mainstream. Looking at the fashions in the hairstyle, I'd say it was like in the early 90s, maybe the late 80s, looking at fashions. And it's a professor talking about the use of frequencies, etc., and mind control. And of course, it comes across as like, oh, it could be used for this. It could be so, you know. And then he did several speeches. He's done a lot of talking about this stuff. And I will have to, I wish I could, I will put it on my site, guys, when I put the article out. I can't remember. Someone can go into the Unfuckers room and pull it out, the article. I put it in there. It would have been like Tuesday or Wednesday, probably. And he talked about, he's done all these different things. And he talks about, Lise, the geomagnetics directly affecting the DNA. And he talked about what you and I have talked about solar, all it could take, one solar flare, just the right one solar incident to trigger and wake up all the junk DNA in human DNA. And it was a really, really fucking interesting read. So this is one of my things. If they're going on this guy's premise, and he's talking about magnetics again, and magnetics directly affecting the DNA, not to the transhumanist agenda, but to our agenda, right? Like as in waking us up, bringing us out of this fucktarded reality we're in, ripping the veil, so to speak. And now we're looking at this information all about the magnetics and this North Pole, South Pole, and the effects that it is directly having, obviously, in my opinion, on us. Is this part of that wave that we talk about?
Okay, so there's
no,
a comment.
I'm gonna have to look. You talk. I'm gonna have to find that link now because it's gonna drive me nuts if I don't.
I've got it noted, so you don't forget to put it in the archive.
Okay.
I may be in a distinct minority on this, but I still feel that shit works on the bots and other non-true humans walking around here. So, okay, is this part of the split as well? I mean, if what we call original heart-based humans are a minority here.
Okay, so
I want to say real quick. Michael says that is happening. He says that there is a group of them that come from the dark side that are not on that side anymore, and basically he codes it under "mom is pissed." You know, he uses that word a lot, but he says definitely there is a split out happening. No doubt about it.
I think we're all seeing that and have done for ages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, I've got the 4-minute video. That's just a little bit from the Discovery Channel. I will embed it in the show, or like in the article, because it was really, really interesting. Everything that this guy had to say was stuff that, Lise, you and I have been talking about for fucking years now. And it was like, oh, great, cool, a professor feels the same way we do. But it comes back to, again, magnetics. And I looked at, after reading all what he was talking about how it will affect us, and then looking at what seems to me as being obvious symptoms of magnetic fields effect on us, is that what we're seeing? Is a wave of magnetics, and it's just getting bigger and bigger, which is why now we're feeling the effects on it.
Right, the 6G mobile network frequencies 800 to 900 megahertz. 600 affects human tissue.
Yep. Yep.
I can't go there in terms of any negativity or fear. I just don't feel anything like that around what's going on right now. No matter how nefarious the attempts or the agenda, it just doesn't feel like it's working. Yep. I feel like these are all counter attempts, countermeasures at what's happening and coming. It's not, I just don't feel like it's going to work, whatever it is.
This is the whole thing with CERN, right? I mean, CERN is running massive magnetic fields. I mean, more powerful than Earth's magnetic fields. That's how powerful the magnets are, which is why when Anne was talking about that in these siblings in Switzerland, close to Geneva, you go, really, really interesting. And with the various things that we've been looking at, now one of the articles that I pulled up this week, and I don't know if someone, I think someone posted it in the Unfuckers room, was an article from 2011. So before the Higgs boson God particle was discovered, it was theorizing about time travel and the Higgs boson and the search in CERN, et cetera, et cetera. Really interesting article. At least, did you read it when I sent it to you?
Bits of it.
The one bit about the membrane?
I did see that.
So they have a theory. And a group of physicists have put together what is a general theory of relativity, if you will. Goes beyond the Einstein stuff, combines everything that they think they know, and actually puts it all together. But it only works in, I can't remember, was it between 9 and 10 dimensions. So in other words, the standard 4 dimensions doesn't work in. You got to have the 9 or 10 dimensions for it to work. But their hypothesized theory is that our reality is actually encapsulated basically in a membrane. And within that membrane, there's only the 4 dimensions. And the rest of everything outside it is they call the bulk. And that has all the other dimensions. And they go on to talk about the singlets, the Higgs singlets would be able to travel through time. Like gravity traveling through basically dimensions. Given that the article was written in 2011, it's really, really interesting because a lot of the stuff that these two guys hypothesized on is now stuff that is being announced from CERN about gravity leaking through into another parallel dimension, parallel universes, and the whole time travel aspect.
Gravity
leaking through from ours into other dimensions.
Okay, I'm going to be completely honest with you.
Okay, dude, don't even go with Newtonian gravity. We all know that's a crock of shit. When I say gravity, I'm not talking about Newtonian. Just saying.
I wasn't listening to much of what you just said. I was in my own little world. I'm going to be completely honest with you.
Okay, that's it. What do you think?
I was just getting these visuals of, in the 88 video and Tzars video, Lainey kept talking about feedback loops.
Huh?
So what I was seeing was a feedback loop between us and the ground beneath us. That's all I'm going to call it from now on, the ground beneath me.
Yeah.
There was this frequency feedback loop, an interference pattern being introduced. What if this countering frequency is coming from us? Because our DNA, our energy, our everything, we are changing. We are shedding all the crap. And because of we are still connected to the ground beneath us, and there is still a feedback loop, we are actually feeding it now And that's what's, I feel like something just completely friggin' switched.
Kind of like the 100th monkey thing. Once consciousness, and we'll say planetary consciousness, the humans on the planet get to a level, they're so powerful, they then affect instead of the other way around. Instead of the planet magnetics affecting us, we're affecting the planets because we're now that.
We're not just affecting that, we're affecting all the tech.
Reality.
We can, instead of being subjected to what is being pumped out by all of this technology and Wi-Fi and Gwen towers and cell towers and all of that, we can actually use them now to broadcast a signal. There's something about that that feels incredibly true.
Oh, let's play.
Let's play.
We could really play with that.
You could.
And that could actually, I mean, you know, we're talking about the Rife machine. And John, I want to thank you for chiming in when you did, when we were talking about the Rife stuff and the magnetics. Thank you, because that was some interesting information. When we talk about this kind of stuff and these experiments, I mean, that's what, you know, the collective imagination show is about, at least it does. If we play, now I want, okay, so here we go. Further to our conversation this morning, Lise. Donna, are you here? I don't know if Donna's here or not. Further to our conversation this morning, damn, okay. We had a conversation this morning, Lisa and Donna and I, this morning, her last night, about manifesting. And Donna's theory about voting. Everyone has to vote for the same thing.
51%.
You need that whole 51% of the vote, i.e. basically, we were having a conversation, it was about housing, and we need to get out of this apartment, we need to get another place, because it's making us nuts. And Donna was giving a story about, Donna, I'm going to tell you a bit of your story. She was looking for a place, in a nutshell. The boys were kind of like, whatever. And no matter how much she looked, it never seemed to manifest. And then all of a sudden, something triggered the boys, her boys, to be like, okay, that's it. We're fucking done with this place. We need a new place. And all of a sudden, I guess they had a quorum. And boom, the place showed up. Everything just, and she was like, but. And I was joking the same thing. Last week, I thought I literally found, it was looking for the whole unfuckers gathering, getting prices and gathering information about places. I stumbled across a place for rent that's right here in my neighborhood, that's ideally perfectly located, exactly what we want. And I immediately, without even really looking any further into it, I just sent the landlord a message on the booking agency saying, would you be interested in a long-term let? And I was really excited of like, I'm manifesting this. I'm definitely going to manifest this. And then the next day, it was like everything went whoop, upside down on its head. And I was like, oh, what happened? Something fucking happened. And we joked about, I guess the vote's not in. We need to have a family vote and be like, right, what kind of house do we want? What do we want? And put everyone to put their vote in saying, this is what we want. Go. Put it out there. Put that manifestation out there. By the way, my bedroom heater is still working absolutely perfectly. So collectively,
there was more I was going to say, but I can't remember. It's gone.
Collectively, I mean, we've talked about the biggest problem is trying to get everyone on the same page, right? Because everyone wants to be a group leader, everyone wants to be the leader, everyone wants to be the savior. So therefore, when you try and bring all the various groups together, it inevitably falls apart because too many egos spoil the brew, I guess. And you can't get everyone to agree on what they want. So can we work it from the negative and just make a statement of what we don't want? And if you can get everyone to stand by a statement of what we don't want, can we push that 51% to a vote?
As long as you can then tweak that to what you do want. Because you can't put
No,
focus on what you've done.
absolutely. But what I'm saying is like, by throwing out, okay, we don't want this fucking bullshit reality, just gotta go. Get rid of it. Right?
How about we do our own version of the gemstone files? We write our own freaking scripts.
Yeah, fuck it.
That's how you do it. We write a script. We all agreed to it. It's in writing. Yeah. If you know anything about the gemstone files and how these things work, well, that's another story. But that is very powerful. That's a very, very powerful thing.
Okay, so someone just said, I want peace. But just saying I want peace isn't enough, because peace, go look up what the word peace means. Go look up the etymology of the word peace. That, right? And that's where I get into the whole thing. But if we can somehow come together and state one statement, just one statement. And I don't care if it's what we don't want, what we do want, but if we could get everyone together and form a quorum, get that 51%.
Click my heels and say there's no place like home.
There's no place like home. I don't fucking care what it is. I don't care. A single statement and put it out there. And let's reprogram the frequencies. Let's reprogram the magnetics, the frequencies, the electricals, whatever the fuck we want to call it. Because I think you're right. I think we're to the point now where we are affecting and affecting both the reality around us. Okay, what do you get?
Okay, can I just comment on something? Well, last time we got together and decided to do something as a group, we made it rain in California, right? Now, I heard a little interview the other day from one of our mates.
Oh, really?
And of course, you know, the good guys, the good, what are they calling themselves? The Alliance, whatever, all the good guys. They're the ones who let it rain in California. They let it rain in California.
Yeah.
And you've got, and I'm not kidding you, this used to happen for those of you who were around 2012, 13, during the collective, 12 in particular, the Collective Imagination show. We would get together on that show. During the show, we would decide on doing a doing. We would do the doing, and usually within 24 hours, but sometimes while we were still on the show, articles would come out by some ascended asshat of one,
some asshat,
whatever, or, you know, saying, oh, this is what we're going to do for you. And it would be what we just decided to do. So there's constantly people taking credit for the work of just humans.
Yep.
You know, no matter who they're calling themselves, whether they think they're the positive military or the
galactic
or a galactic whatever.
Yeah.
They're constantly taking the credit for the work that every person, human here, is doing.
Yep.
Of course, because, you know, you're just a human and you can't do this stuff. But
yeah,
you know,
and your frequencies aren't high enough anyways, darling.
You raised your energy and frequencies.
So wouldn't we call that singularity of thought? Kind of like the OA show. The OA show, by the way, is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
So that's
singularity of thought.
That's what Michael just said. I'm going to give him credit for that.
Singularity is a very interesting thing in science. You know?
He says that's how they're pulling it off in the show.
Isn't that what that whole dance move really is all about? Just getting them all focused?
They're using, you look at the people as a form of a human CERN.
Human CERN, C-E-R-N.
And they do their little dance chingadares, right, to generate the electrical energy, like nitrous on your car with the Fast and the Furious, get more torque and horsepower. Then they're using that to access passwords and codes until we can tap into source and download more data. And then you just have the playground just got bigger with more toys. But hopefully you got some wisdom there and you ain't gonna like, you know, get too out of line with something. You know what I mean? You're gonna do it for the right reasons.
So they're all lining up in the show. They're backing up with symbolism, whatever the downloads are, into the movements, which moves the electricity, magnetism, whatever. I guess it's just bringing it all into one singularity, basically.
Well, it's like may the force be with you. It's Vero, prana, you know, the life force. So we're using that as, which is electrical, which Tesla talked about, the very plasma of creation. So we tap into this as a source of energy that gives us enough to raise our frequency to tap into something really amazing.
Okay, there you go.
Smoking that shit.
He's turning 80 next month. We love his wisdom.
Another thought that just occurs is we are transceivers. We receive, condition, and retransmit or resend a variety of energetic and it's more than just energy.
Frequency, everything.
It's everything. The biology basically interfaces with electricity, magnetics, light, resonance, frequencies, all of it. And as a transceiver, we basically couple with the existing fields, Schumann resonance, blah, 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 all of it, and then interact with it in ways that we determine by not only our awareness of them and our decision to interact with them, but also our, call it skill or experience or ability to properly come to terms with it. And that has to do with, as you were talking earlier, about coming up with a statement. This is our intent. This is what we want to do. Once that intent comes into our focus of awareness, then we can interact with it and decide and focus it or direct it or whatever. But to go back to one even earlier comment, if we are interacting with the earth, and there's no reason to believe that we aren't, the ratio of it affecting us versus us affecting it, I think, is shifting.
I think so.
We're having a larger impact because, one, we're aware of it, two, because of these energetic changes going on around us that are affecting all of life. But on top of that, we have this growing awareness that we are more than what we thought.
Yep.
The term that I came up with, and I can't say it's mine, but the term that popped in is, I am all that I am.
Hold on a second. We've got someone else is unmuted. Give me a quick second. We've gotten feedback here. There we go. We're fixed. We are, like you said about transceivers. I mean, this is now scientifically proven. When we talk about quantum communication between the cells, photonic quantum communication, photons being light. Our cells communicate, the DNA communicates, but it communicates outwards. And we can, our energy field, we can, even to the point of, and it's really funny, I'd forgotten about this. I played with an experiment. This was fucking years ago. But intent, actually. Charging your energy field. Setting the intent, everyone's energy field goes out from themselves by a much, your energy touches much farther from and around you than most people understand and comprehend. Charging your energy field with this positive intent, or whatever the intent is that you set, whether it's happiness, whether it's peace and love and joy, etc., whatever, and go out walking. And with the intent that your energy field is going to interact with everyone else's energy field around you, and pass that intent to them. Pass that energy, if you will, to them. And it was, we had incredible success. Like, it was like people talked about where they went walking through shopping malls and left like waves of people around them. Everyone just started smiling, and you could see there was an actual reaction to the energy intent that we were putting out. We are transceivers. We can transmit that intent everywhere, and we can put it out. So working on just the premise of the science alone of our own energy field, which is measurable, and passing that intent. Now, I like that someone, we were talking about, like, if you could create a singular intent that, or statement, whatever. One of the things someone said was, everyone wake up. That simple. Just,
oh, I could get into that one for sure.
everyone wake up. And imagine just that message. Everyone just wake up.
I like the idea of playing with the towers, though. Cell towers, Gwen towers, Wi-Fi towers, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
And just broadcasting, wake up, like an alarm clock.
Yeah.
Just
blast it out there.
You guys,
I think we just get some people.
do you guys believe in that whole Orgonaut thing, you know, where they go and bury that shit around those towers?
Yeah, I know there's people are plenty busy doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got me a whole box of those. I was wondering how it could, I mean, could you go and actually ground it and then well, I guess you could reprogram it if you believed you could. And I'm smiling
Everyone
when
can
I say
do
that. I mean,
reprogram it.
what?
Could I chime in for a minute?
Hi, Earl.
Yeah, hi.
Hi. I did a test last week of manifesting, and so I thought, well, my TV is actually a 4K monitor. Like, it has all the pixels that I can do for 4K. So I thought, could I manifest and focus to see if I could change what my TV can do? So I did the thinking, you know, I went through a process. And one day last week, I'm sitting here, and all of a sudden my screen flashes. Like, it just has, you know how when you close your eyes, you get that, like, you really close them, or you put your fist up to your eyes and you get all that stuff. Well, that's what it looked like, the whole flash. And now I put my video to 4K on YouTube. Oh my God.
Reprogram.
It looked,
See.
it looks so awesome. I'm like, whoa, this whole manifesting thing actually freaking works.
I'm all about.
Hang on.
Anyway,
Hold on a second, hon.
I'm just muting. I just got Dawn. Sorry.
There you go. You got Dawn. Okay.
Had to mute you, Dawn.
Sorry about that.
Keep going, Noel.
But I just was like, I need to see if this stuff actually works. Because I feel like we are in this weird time, and there was this video that I was watching a while back ago. It was talking about the singularity, where everything anyone could come up with could instantly just pop in. Like, and I believe we are coming onto that time rapidly. You know, it's like, holy crap, we can actually be doing stuff like this. And oh yeah, one other thing that before I go, I was watching some on YouTube and someone mentioned, oh, the Earth is bigger than Mars. And now Mars is this tiny little planet, like only 600, I forget what, but anyway, I have it up on my Facebook in the unfuckers room there, and it's like the Earth shouldn't be as big or bigger than. We're even bigger than Venus. We were never bigger than Venus. Holy crap! Like what the?
Oh, yeah, I saw all of that too, and it's interesting how the stars have suddenly become a topic of conversation, and the planets elsewhere.
Las Vegas now has a man-made lake in Las Vegas.
A man-made lake in Las Vegas?
Yeah, a man-made lake in Las Vegas. I never knew it was there. I never heard of this lake before, and they had it since '91. I didn't know about it.
Dude, I'm coming up with all sorts of shit that just seems to be appearing, and I didn't know about it.
Like,
let me tell you.
Okay, even Mustang, Ford Mustangs that people
Station wagon?
Yeah, and four-door Mustangs. I've never seen a four-door Mustang in my freaking ass life.
There's station wagons. I saw those too.
It's like,
so there has been a few Mandela effects that come up again. I've noticed.
There's been a couple that I've been like, really.
I'm done. I'm like George Jetson stuck on the freaking treadmill. Dang, get me off this freaking green thing. Anyway, I'm gonna mute myself before I go insane.
Okay. Thanks, El.
Thanks, El. Bye. Well, I mean, Earl brought up Mars. I gotta talk about the fucking moon.
Oh yeah, from which angle exactly?
Exactly. Okay, so we have in the Unfuckers room a whole lot of people who like to take pictures of the sky. So every day there's pictures of like bizarre chemtrails, bizarre rainbows in the sky, the moon, the sun, etc. Last week on the full moon. Now, you always see me, so this is my balcony right here where the ugly blinds are. That's my balcony. And my balcony faces pretty much due east, pretty much. And the moon rises here on this side, and it goes up, and it follows literally a perfect line right across over top of my building and sets over there. So the full moon on Thursday, the moon comes up. It's bright fucking orange. It looks like a tangerine. I'm laughing I tried to take a picture of it with one of my kids' tablets. It didn't turn out. So bright orange comes up over the sea. We watch it until we go to bed, and it's making its usual path across the sky. My girlfriend, who lives 4 apartments over, her bedroom faces the back of the building, gets up first thing in the morning, Friday morning, and the moon is over there. I mean, she posted on Facebook and was like, I woke up this morning and look what I found in my backyard, literally. There's no possible way for the moon to have been over there. At no point in time does the moon's path ever put it over there. She posts a picture of it, and you've got the tilt. So you can see, you see the lovely little navel, like, exactly where the sections all got put together, and the various identifying marks. Jalen posts a picture of the moon the next night, and it's turned like this. Someone else posts one of my friends from Spain posts a picture of the full moon, and it's turned like this. And it's like, wait, okay, seriously, Spain is like literally spitting distance over that way almost. How can her moon and our moon look fucking different? And how can
this
North America to Europe be like turning around?
This also leads into what we were talking about, part of the conversation we have with the three of us, you, me, and Donna. About a month ago, I posted on Facebook, did anyone see what I just saw, which was the moon rather low in the sky in the east, because I'm on the east coast. The ocean is here if I'm heading north, right? So it's on my right, and that's what I was doing. I was driving north. I've got the ocean on my right. The moon was low in the sky over the ocean. and it was late, and it was due to set at around 11:30 that night. It should have been way over there by then because it was not far off setting. And within 20 minutes, it went down again and set in the ocean, set in the east. It went bright orange and just disappeared. And what happened in the result of that thread, apart from being accused of being a complete liar, was I had multiple people in different states. So there was multiple people in Western Australia, in Perth, all giving me different answers. Like, yeah, the moon's there, it looks great, exactly where it should be. No, can't find it.
Yep.
Have no idea, can't see it anywhere, and I don't have cloud, it's not behind a mountain, whatever. Same thing in Adelaide. Same thing in New South Wales. I got half a dozen different answers. Yeah, it's over there. No, it's over there. No, it's like, how can that be if people all in real time are looking up and seeing different things? Which led to, are we actually dealing with our own individual program of reality? That night, were we all seeing the moon that we were programmed to see, or were we not?
All just figments of my
seeing the
imagination.
moon that we were programmed to see? Hey,
You're just a figment of my imagination, Lisa. This is my hallucination. All of you are just along for the ride, which is why none of us can agree where the fucking moon is.
we've got consensus reality, which brings us back to this 51%.
Yeah.
But what if we've got an individual reality, and those of us who are seeing these anomalies, that's why you can be looking up and seeing something in the sky and the guy right next to you is going, what are you talking about? I'm not seeing anything. What if that tech, part of that tech that is the consensus reality, is breaking down as well? Or we're actually just getting more powerful to the point where we're breaking out of it. Is the consensus reality the same thing as the hive mind construct? That just occurred to me.
Interesting.
Those of us, or those who are breaking out of the hive mind construct, stepping more into our own individual reality, breaking out of the consensus reality, which is why I can see the moon over there doing something stupid and strange, and for somebody else it's just exactly where it should be.
Exactly where it should be, yep.
And if we step out of hive mind, consensus reality is when we can step truly into the collective imagination. Holy shit.
Yeah, listen, I've had a few of those, Lace. In the last 45 minutes, I've had a few of those myself.
Okay, wow. There's something there. But I do think that we're dealing with an individual reality. It's almost as if we are individually plugged into, but we can change our reality, which is why we need the 51% to change a collective.
But we can change ours.
Yeah.
If we're dealing with a matrix simulation, Lisa, and I keep putting it on the level of playing an online game, whether it's World of Warcraft or whatever, right? Pick an online game. You're in your game on your TV playing, and even though you're playing together, you could have 100 people all playing on the same world at the same time. You're still playing within your little box of reality, right?
Mm-hmm.
What version you're playing could change what you're seeing.
What about if the ratio of our interaction on an individual as well as collective level is shifting? I.e., each of us can now, I don't know if it's conscious or not at this point, but selectively interact with our reality and vary the amount of interaction we have with the collective reality. And that ratio of personal to collective is more under our control on some level, subconscious, conscious, whatever. And that's part of the change.
I like it.
So do I. So do I.
You realize this means we can actually do anything and everything we can imagine we can do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's been on my mind since our conversation this morning, Lise. That has been on my mind. My little, quasi-experiment with the heater in the bedroom. That has been on my mind all fucking day.
On top of that is, if we all are able to, in other words, we're heading in the direction of being able to choose our interaction with the collective, with those in our immediate vicinity, those on a galactic or global or whatever scale, by our focus of awareness, which then focuses in our consciousness, so that we are dialed in, kind of like choosing a channel or choosing a particular frequency or whatever, so that basically we become more practiced at it. And as we gain this additional experience and become more practiced at being able to selectively choose who we interact with, how we interact with the collective, people, places, whatever, which I believe is where we're all headed, then we will individually become not just responsible for our place in the grand scheme of things, but also we will become autonomous, quote, sovereign beings once again, which is where we were a long time ago and still are, but it's now coming into focus for us down in this gravity well, which is what we've been missing for a long time.
Mm.
Okay. On one hand, I'm loath to move on from this subject because I feel like there's a lot.
I'm doing the same thing, Lisa. I'm doing the same thing.
The other thing that we really wanted to talk about a little bit, I believe, both of us did, I'm not sure, maybe, is Antarctica again.
Okay, hold on, just one little thing, because I've had 3 people say, okay, the thing about the heater. I told Lisa this story. We have 2 heaters in our apartment. One is, they're like multi-function units. So they're like a heater, an air conditioner, a dehumidifier, right? There's one in the wall in the living room on one end, and the other end of the apartment, there's one in the bedroom. The heater in the one in our bedroom has never fucking worked. It starts up, it makes this horrible noise. It runs for about 30 seconds and it shuts down. And our bedroom is literally freezing. Quite literally, it's fucking freezing cold in there. Got into bed 2 nights ago. And get into bed, and you just get to that place where you're just starting to relax, and the heater comes on. And you're like, it sounds like a jumbo jet getting ready to take off. And it's like, I turned to Nick and I said, okay, you know what? If I have to deal with the fucking noise, I'd really, really like it if this heater would just fucking work like the one in the living room. It just needs to work the way the one in the living room works, which works just fine. Could it just work like the one in the living room? Go to lay back down type thing, start to drift off, and a little while later, a few minutes later, whatever, the heater starts up again. And this time, it sounds exactly like the one in the living room. And since that point, we have had heat in our bedroom.
And how long have you been there and it's not worked?
We've had the heat on for like 2 months, and it has never ever put heat out. It makes a noise. It only ever runs for 30 seconds and then it turns off. And like I said, I literally said it out loud. I was like, if it would just run like the one in the living room, it would be fine. I don't care, but it needs to run like the one in the living room. And it literally did. And it has worked all last night, all today. It has been working just absolutely fine. And I joked to him, was like, there's my manifestation. I literally spoke it out loud. And I guess Nick and I had a consensus and said, yes, this thing needs to fucking work. We'd like to have some heat because there's just not enough room for all the hot water bottles in my bed. So.
Okay.
That was the heater. That was the heater story. I just wanted to share that with everyone.
Now, when you and I were doing discussions on World War II, which led to Hitler and the Nazis, which led to Antarctica and Thule, however you want to pronounce that thing.
Whatever, yeah.
We came across the Thule Air Base, which was up north. Now, from what I remember and what I recently went back and had a look at, it did used to be called Thule Island. They just, when they took it over, it's been just referred to as Thule Airport, Air Force Base.
Not Air Force Base. No. Don't make, it's Thule Air Base.
Air Base, sorry.
They don't say Air Force because it reportedly is the Space Command Central. Just, you know.
But the other one, the actual Thule Island, is down south.
Yes, on the Sandwich Island.
Now, I've never looked at it like this. Now, tell me what you see. This is a screenshot I took from Google Earth last night. What the hell does that look like?
I don't see your screenshot. Oh, there it is. It's coming up. I mean, like a snake's head?
Yeah. Or a dragon's head.
Or a dragon's head, yeah.
I've never seen it from that angle before and noticed that.
I've never looked at it from quite that angle before, but yes, that is very interesting.
And that's a close-up. And this one, Thule is part of
the South Georgia Sandwich Islands. Yeah.
This little thing here is quite interesting.
Yep.
But that blew me away when I looked at it like that. I just saw a bloody dragon head. When you look at it from Google Earth's perspective, you got to just turn the globe a little bit and you can see it that way.
Yeah.
The globe, Google's globe. But it actually looks like a dragon's head and its wings come out like that. And the other thing was, so I went around up north looking for the Thule Air Base up north.
In Greenland.
In Greenland, and Google Earth was kind of glitching a little bit and showing me things like this. Where the snow just ends, just like that, in a nice straight line.
Yeah, don't we love that? Don't you remember when you and I did the whole look along the Canadian and Greenland border? What was that, like in March? We're sitting side by side in Australia, and we were looking at it, and it was all fucked up. And you could see where it was like there were sections of the coastline that were very obviously drawings. They were not satellite images. It was very obviously drawn
in. This is just too funny.
The excuse given is that the map grids were taken on different days. The images for that grid were taken on different days. So sunlight, no sunlight, whatever.
No, because it corrects itself. As you zoom in and out and give it a chance to catch up, it corrects itself. Right? And then, but if you're going too quick, it can't quite keep up with you. So like the top layer of snow or whatever is gone, and you get to see it all either brown and dirt or it's lush and green or whatever, and then suddenly, the snow layer.
The snow comes back, yeah. Well, like I said, when you and I were having that little tour, we were goofing around with Google Earth, and I think that was in like March or April last year, last year. And we saw all kinds of ridiculous shit up there around Greenland and Canada that was just so make-believe as to be like, really? Now, what's interesting is, on the Thule stuff, since last week's show, I'm getting so many fucking messages. I got a message from another friend whose dad was based in Thule on the air base in the 60s. And interesting, he was a dentist. He was an officer. And much like Arcasol talked about last week, he was not allowed to go anywhere on base, and he was there, based there. He wasn't allowed to go into the comms. He wasn't allowed to, there was like, you can go to this place, like the mess hall, here's the barracks, here's your office, and that's all you get, basically. The interesting thing was, one of his jobs, and I guess he was a dentist, but I guess as a doctor, was escorting staff, i.e. soldiers, etc., home who'd gone insane. And he himself escorted 2 different people who'd gone insane and had to be flown home in straitjackets. So we're not talking about, okay, they got really, really depressed because it was wintertime and you don't see daylight for like 60 days or something, so they got really heavily depressed. Or, I mean, the post-traumatic stress disorders. No, they were so, like, in straitjackets, flown from Thule Air Force Base to fucking New Jersey.
Were these people who were in the comms room, got in, or were they from a particular department or whatever?
Didn't say. The other thing is someone who I've known for several years said, oh, I saw your show. She was with a Greenland Eskimo, a true proper like Eskimo from Greenland, and he prefers the term Eskimo, not Inuit. His thing was saying that the Inuit is the name they gave us. I'm fucking Eskimo. Who was a shaman, who is a shaman. And she had some I shared some of that information in the Unfuckers Room too, because she's written a blog about a lot of this stuff and talks about how they think and how they live, and the trauma to the native Eskimos who live in Greenland from the US, from Denmark, pushing them out. And the fact that when they built Thule Air Force Base, they pushed all the Inuit out. They kicked them out and pushed them and made them move like 100 miles away. So we've got some really interesting pieces. The other piece that came up, and I have not had a chance to dig into it, Nick has been on it all afternoon. Giants. The giants is a topic that just keeps coming up.
I don't know if you've seen this, but in the chat, I did a roofing job for a contractor that had retired from writing code from satellites for the government. He never saw terrain, only code. And then he would transcribe the code into a GIF code to create pictures.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All he saw was code. Oh, that's fucking interesting too.
Yeah, I think the Google Earth images and all of that stuff is actually just done from low altitude planes, to be honest. The rest of it,
absolutely. Yeah.
Probably all just put it on the bottom of passenger jets.
Well, I mean, Google has now their cameras who on the cars where they drive around the neighborhood so they can do the Google neighborhood, whatever, spy on everyone. So yeah, I mean.
Sorry, giants. Get back to giants.
Yeah. So giants. All of a sudden, we're talking about giants this year. And it's become one of those topics. It's like everywhere I look, this subject keeps fucking coming up. Greenland. It's not legend. It's not like they have myths about giants, because a lot of different areas of the world have got myths and legends about giants. No. They have stories, modern stories, about the giants. And this one friend of mine who's with the shaman had a giant attacked his village and killed almost everyone in his village. And he was highly traumatized by it as a child. Giants. So Nick is off looking at something completely different. I have no idea how he ended up there, because he's as bad as I am sometimes. Solomon Islands. Now, the Solomon Islands. who've been just fucking rocked with earthquake after earthquake after earthquake. You want a little bit of research fun? Go look up the Solomon Islands, the history of the Solomon Islands. Holy shit. Same thing though. They don't have legends and myths about giants. It's reality. Like they talk about giants in modern times coming out from the caves, from under the ground, kidnapping people. There are pictures that can be found of like really old pictures of like two guys carrying a giant skull, and the skull comes up to their waist. Like it took two men to carry it, and the skull came up to their waist. So all of a sudden, and again, we talk about what is changing reality versus what is transparency. And this has been my question for fucking weeks now. We have information coming out, and I fucking ran through information this week. So much fucking information. My brain was just like on overload, some of the shit that came up. Okay? What is, for lack of a better word, a Mandela effect? A different time layer, dimension, whatever you want to call it, versus what is transparency, i.e., it is all being made transparent right now. We are discovering, rediscovering, and everything is coming out now, and we are finding out all this information. Giants fucking everywhere. Everywhere we look. All these legends, but it's, again, it's not legend and lore. Like, there is a lot of stuff that's happened in the last 100 years with giants. And they all live in caves and under the ground. And we keep coming across this whole thing of tunnels everywhere, caves everywhere. Okay, Cindy just said under the mountains in Romania. I need to get to that area because I've been sent so much information about the mountains in Romania, the mountains in southern Germany, and there was one other place. Someone else sent me other information. And it was the same thing where all of these things are coming out about these secret tunnels, about these giants, etc. And it is pretty fucking wild. And like I said, I haven't had a chance to look into the Solomon Island stuff. Nick is just like, holy shit, about the gold, everything there. And we have a friend of ours who came with us to Morocco the very first time, who is heavily involved in currency, and one of the island is called Bougainville, which I'm pretty sure is again another island that's in around that relative area. Massive amounts of gold, gems, ridiculous, all this stuff. And now, and I see all these earthquakes happening there. What are they trying to cover up? Is the earthquakes a cover up for something? Is it just the Pacific Ring of Fire, or is there more to it? Fiji and the
trying to get the caves to collapse in.
Well, something collapsing, something being collapsed. I don't know.
One thing to note, the Smithsonian Institution in the United States has traditionally, for hundreds of years, covered up existence of the mounds and giants and the skeletons and all of that.
Yep.
That's, in a sense, that's their function, is to hide our past.
Smooth it out. But we have newspaper clippings. I have seen the newspaper clippings from the early 1900s about the Smithsonian, and it's pictures of the Smithsonian with giant fucking skeletons.
Oh, yeah.
And they had them there. Yet now it's all like, oh, deny. I'm like, dude, we've seen the newspaper clippings.
And they take all the artifacts. They take all the artifacts and they disappear.
Well, this is now
I'm well known for a trail to the Smithsonian, and then it all just disappears.
Yeah, exactly.
They're probably all stored in crates in some, like, remember the end of one of those Spielberg
Indiana
movies?
Jones?
Yeah, that one.
The big
Right.
crates, just not
Crates
huge where.
Going on for as far as the eye can see, full of who knows what, and it's all the stuff they don't want you to know about.
It's the Vatican Library is what we call that.
Yes.
Listen, in Malta, same thing. In the temples here, they have found giant skulls, a huge amount of elongated skulls, and they said, like, these were, like, seriously elongated skulls. They were all archived by two archaeologists and history guys back in the 80s, 83, 84. All the skulls have gone missing. They've all vanished. The only thing that exists now is their original report on them. That's it. Isn't that funny how that happens?
You know, I just want to put this out there. For me personally, I would much rather talk to and take the word of regular people, regular humans who are having experiences as a indicator of where we're really at, rather than listening to whistleblowers and those who are in privileged positions to be fed intel by unnamed higher ups and shit like that.
I've been allowed to tell you this.
Yeah. And it's even admitted by some very recently that they need to get the word out on a certain narrative in order to control the narrative for the masses. Now, okay, we'll have a discussion on this show. You know, I'll just give an example about the concept of it's a construct, and then you'll find certain people jump all over that, and they've all got a different twist to what we're saying. And I'm not saying their twist is wrong. I'm just saying it's a twist, because we might have it wrong. But what I find is it's the people who have got the bigger audiences and who have access to the mainstream that are jumping on all this stuff that's coming out of these little pockets of real humans and they're trying to control the narrative. So I think what they're doing is anticipating it reaching mainstream in terms of people's experience. This is going to go viral in terms of the number of people waking up, and then they'll be looking for information, and then they'll go where they know and trust, which is the mainstream, initially at least. So there'll be a controlled, contrived narrative going on, and that controlled, contrived narrative still puts us in a position of powerlessness, if you noticed.
Yep.
Because it's all about, even if it's an alliance of good guys, it's the good military, or it's the good ETs, or it's always somebody else is handling it for us. But we, by no uncertain terms, are the only group of people getting together and talking about what's going on and what our experiences are and sharing them. There are thousands of them, tens of thousands of them. And I think all of these groups are being watched and monitored. It takes me back to 2013 and realizing the position that we were in terms of how we were being watched for. It's like they lost the ability to figure out what the hell was going on. They needed to find out from us what was going on. So, what did you dream about last night? You know, how are you feeling? You know what? And all of this stuff, because they weren't getting it anymore. They needed the intel directly from people who
are
who are hooked in and having the experiences and going through the process. So there is a level of, to me, of the watchdogs, so to speak, who are watching all of these groups all around the world of people just like us who are coming together. They're listening, they're watching, they're seeing where we're at, and then they're grabbing those stories and then they're putting them out there in a controlled fashion so they can control the narrative and where it goes.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's what's happening with Antarctica.
That's absolutely what's happening with Antarctica.
What's happening with Antarctica. Because the stories coming out of the mainstream
what's happening
news,
with the giants. It's what's happening with the construct. It's what's happening with all these key words: construct, giants, Antarctica. What's the other one? Magnetics, even.
Mm-hmm.
We've been talking about magnetics, and so have other groups.
Yeah.
Thule, the Nazis.
The Nazis.
This stuff that we've been all, going back over and re-looking at and asking questions again about for the last 12 months or more have all been grabbed by these groups. Pick it up on the keywords.
Pick up the keywords, and then they put out the very subtle twist to it, and the disinformation gets put in, and they distract off and like, oh no, there's a giant pyramid in Antarctica, and everyone should look at this, but we're going to put it out in like the most raggiest newspaper in London, so that everyone goes, it's a fucking tabloid, and that's all that is, right? Fucking another article I ran across talking about, and I love the way they play this one out of the UK, the Express in London, which is just a bare step away from being a tabloid rag, just a bare step. And about, there were these reports that John Kerry went down to Antarctica because he was dealing with the Nazis. Now, I didn't see the article when it came out. The article is obviously like, I don't know, a month or so old. But I looked at it and was like, oh, isn't that interesting that you put out that article? And of course, it proves it all off as like, oh, well, conspiracy theorists believe that, the Nazis went to Antarctica. And that's what John Kerry's down there doing. He's meeting with the Nazis. And I was just like, really? But it's the way they spin that shit. Oh, and that's the other thing I was going to say about we talked about the famous people visiting Antarctica. We missed one in 2016, and it's another biggie, was the Governor General of Australia.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was there 6 days after John Kerry was. Isn't that interesting? I thought you'd like that.
Yeah. Okay, I've got a question. When you guys go to YouTube and you watch a video, is there a particular ad that plays for you more than any other? Over and over again, like 19 times out of 20.
Not.
Okay. Which one is it?
Maltese ones that are coming up right now.
Uh-huh.
Really? No. Really, you guys?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Guyam TV.
And it has to be, are you guys all in North America? That's going to be my first question. Everyone who said that.
Oh, I get it too. That's mine too. Right?
I haven't had that ad come up even once.
Months or more. It's been going on for 6 months or more. It's Wilcock and Goods, Guyam TV, Nazis in Antarctica, blah, 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 blah. Is that what you guys all get to? And then the overwhelming answer is yes.
Holy shit.
And if it's not that, it is what did he call it? Avatar, that movie. It's also Guyam TV production. It was by The Last Avatar. Yes.
I've seen that one. I actually have seen that one. I just ignore the ads, so I don't really pay attention. I have seen that one.
It's the only two I get. Both Guyam TV
ones now.
And it says I go to YouTube quite a bit. Right?
Yeah.
Now, this is the only two ads I've seen for at least 6 months.
That's fucking crazy. Oh, that just
now. Do you know what the budget is on that? Now, this is a network that is supposed to be publicly funded through subscriptions, right? There's no way in the world that subscriptions alone are paying for that advertising.
No.
All right.
Or they got a fuck of a lot of subscriptions. Or free advertising from YouTube.
Or, exactly.
I'm not saying nothing now. Make your own mind up.
I'm just saying, there's a lot of money in Google, YouTube advertising for Guy on TV. It's got to be very, very expensive. Or there's an arrangement.
Or there's an arrangement.
So that's getting, I mean, I don't know. I'd have to ask people who don't normally look at conspiracy stuff on YouTube if they're also getting it.
Yeah.
No, you're not. Is that what you mean? Okay.
Interesting.
So
one thing about Google Ads is it's targeted to the individual based on your history with it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. I've been looking up travel stuff recently because of organizing the Unfucker gathering. So all of a sudden I've got like ads for Ryanair coming up everywhere and Cheapo Air and all these kind of sites. It fucking pisses me off. So I got to talk about this because this is kind of interesting. So we've been looking at a lot of the Russian stuff recently. And we're really lucky that we have a couple of awesome people who speak Russian in the Unfuckers room. So we have Igor who can translate stuff for me on the fly when I'm like, tell me what this video says. And an article came up. And I'm going through this information. I sent it to Lisa, and I think it was posted in the Unfuckers room as well. Little history lesson that Tsar Nicholas II was apparently working with Abraham Lincoln.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And they were going to fund a world global trust fund based on gold. And then Lincoln got assassinated. And of course, we all know what happened to Tsar Nicholas II. And basically, Russia sent, I think it was 47 tons of gold to the Federal Reserve, well, to Fort Knox, that was then stolen. And of course, 1913, when the Federal Reserve was pulled into place and took over. And by and large, it's a long article, and I've got the links, are going to be in the article that goes with the show. The by and large of it goes into a bunch of details, talking about the fact of the Federal Reserve still owes the interest on this gold that they took at 4% interest a year. It was over $50 billion worth of gold then. And now at 4% a year, apparently the amount of zeros behind the amount owed is rather, not sure if we have a number for that.
Astronomical.
Sorry, Alexander III. I've got all the names crossed over and mixed up. Sorry, guys, I'm crossing up names. And I come down, and it talks about how Maria Romanov, who was the person who I guess was supposed to have inherited this money she would get paid back to. And the article talks about a meeting that took place, in Malta in 2013. So I just sat there and it was like, oh, there's your cell phone. I sat there and was like, oh, okay, well, first of all, let's see if we can look up something to do. Can I find any information about any kind of official meeting happening in 2013 in Malta? So I do a quick search, and I come up with an article about this Maria, and she doesn't use the last name Romanov. She uses a different last name. Now I've got the thing pulled up. It's in the article. How she is High Dam Ukadiup in the Order of the Knights of Malta. And there's a picture of her with the King of Bulgaria, the King of Romania, and a prince of somewhere else. They're all cousins, of course, because, as you do. And they're all in the Order of Malta. And I'm just having this moment of like, oh, that's just so fucking strange. I got to look this up. Well, apparently, the imperial family of Russia has been highly involved with the Knights of Malta for centuries, to the point that one of the Tzars was actually the grand uppity of the Knights of Malta, even though he's not Catholic. And apparently it needed all kinds of dispensations from the Pope to allow him, a non-Catholic, to become the head guy of the Order of the Knights of Malta. Russia has been very, very, very heavily involved in the Order of Malta. They all are. Now, what's really, really interesting is like I said, you start looking at the history.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you, and I don't know if you said it while I was just in the bathroom, but if there was an alliance between Russia and a faction within the US, at least back then, has that alliance resurfaced in the form of Trump and Putin?
I did not have enough time to be able to get that far down the rabbit hole. Now, I did ask about an hour before we went live for anyone to find out, is Trump a member of the Knights of Malta or the Order of Malta, whichever. And I found many articles saying yes, but nothing that shows proof. I always say pics or it didn't happen, and I didn't find any pictures of him in the usual robes. So, enough said. That money owing. Now, there's a lot of different funds that get talked about, the World Global Settlement Funds, the Saint Germain funds, all these different things are always talked about. Never heard of this. But we went digging, and Lisa pulled up a fucking cartoon that was written in England, of course, at the time of all this happening. You pull it up because it's a fucking riot. Because apparently the Tsar not only sent gold to the States, he sent warships to the States as a standard to stand with the Union against France and England, because Russia had heard that France and England could very well try at that moment to invade. And Russia sent warships to the States to stand up with them against, the Rothschilds, etc. So this is the cartoon that was, 1863 in fucking England of the Tsar and Lincoln.
Extremes meet.
I'm telling you, it's
goodwill shown by Russia for the Union when it stood without other friends among the nations. From the first was warmly resented by the ruling class of England.
Warmly resented. I love that.
The British goodwill found characteristic expression in the present drawing. So this is an interesting little link here.
And I will Lisa, send me that link, because I had it. I don't have that embedded, but I will actually put that into put that link into the article as well, because it's kind of interesting. Well, here's one of the things.
Just put it in the chat here too.
And I was talking to Yehor about it, and because he was translating a bunch of other stuff for me on it. And he was talking about the abdication of Nicholas II in 1917. And he was talking about all these various things. And I said, well, as I'm reading this long translation he'd written for me, the first thing that came to my mind was China. China has hundreds, if not thousands of years of history of dynasties. And they would get, a dynasty would become ostentatious, opulent, overbloated, and the people would rise up, and there'd be revolution, and then there would be a new government put in place, or a new dynasty put in place. But it was always the same guys. it always looked like the people had staged a revolution and they got their new government. But in reality, it was always the same families in charge all the way through. So I'm reading all this stuff about Nicholas II, the abdication of the throne over Russia, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, but it was just another one of the Chinese dynasty changeovers. Because his whole family were all Knights of Malta. And if you go look at modern Russian history, they're all fucking Knights of Malta. They're all fucking Knights of Malta. So the guy who's the Minister of Defense for Russia, who Putin just put in power, I think was 3 years ago, just before Putin put him in power as the Minister of Defense, he came to Malta. And he was knighted a Knight of Malta. And then went back to Russia and was made the Minister of Defense. Okay, sorry guys. Same fucking thing. Same dynasty still fucking in charge. The same people are still calling the goddamn fucking shots. It just looks like the peasants revolted and they ousted that king who was so against them. And now they got, well, and they had communism. And then, oh, there was another revolution. And the Iron Curtain fell. And they've got democracy now. Still Knights of Malta. All right in there. All woven in. Do you know what I found out about the Knights of Malta, though? Because, I mean, we all talked about the Knights of Malta. Everyone, you know, this person's a Knight of Malta, that person's a Knight of Malta, blah, blah, blah. Beyond being the oldest order of chivalry, as they call them, they're the oldest surviving order. They're a sovereign state. I didn't know this. You're muted.
As in just like the Vatican, DC?
As in just like the Vatican, the City of London, and Washington, DC. The Knights of Malta, the Order of Malta, is a sovereign state. They have their own passports. They have their own currency, their own stamps, their own flag. Wait a second. Anyone?
Do they have their own piece of geography as well? Like, is there a spot inside Malta that is?
I don't know. They're in Rome, and it's in the Piazza di Malta. In Rome. And they are a sovereign fucking state. Now, we have, how many in the room right now, live with us? There is
258.
200, okay. We have 258 people with us live right now.
Is that enough to declare ourselves a sovereign state?
I know, can we declare it? Yeah, the unfucker state. Awesome. Oh, and that's it. And they have official United Nations observer status as a sovereign. They have a seat in the fucking United Nations as well. Okay? So, who, of all you people in the room who've been studying, I know a bunch of you guys are in there, who have been at this for fucking years. How many of you knew that the Knights of Malta was a sovereign fucking state?
Considering most of the answers I'm expecting are going to be no. Hang on. Most of the answers are going to be no. So just put in a yes if you're a yes. If you're a no,
a yes if you knew. Okay, no, yeah, Norm, thanks. I get that. Yeah. That's not what I mean, and you know that. So we do have a few yeses. We have a few yeses.
I've seen maybe half a dozen, maybe 8.
Yep. Now, I live in Malta. This is the 3rd time I've lived in Malta. So the whole Knights of Malta thing comes up a lot for me, as you can imagine. And it's a trigger point for me when I hear, oh, Knights of Malta, that's interesting. Let me go look. I have never come across the information that they have their own currency and passports and a seat on the United Nations. Never. Now, granted, I obviously have not gone deep enough down that rabbit hole. But this is the kind of thing that I'm like, we talk about the changing of the dynasties, and the perception is always that, okay, there's a revolution and that something's going to change, and then they put a new government in, and yay, we did it. All the people cheer, oh, look what we did. We changed it. And yet it's the same people in charge. So the other thing I looked at just before we went live, 1917. The list of how many revolutions happened in 1917. Not just in Russia, China, Greece, Malta, Italy, Hungary. There's a fucking list of revolutions that happened in 1917 and 1918. And I sat there and looked at all of us and I went, which is why I wanted Ben here. 100 years?
100-year cycles again?
100-year cycles. Fucking 100.
But we've been talking about these. We've been talking about factions for as long as I've known you. And like you say, throughout history, it's been that they were, in fact, all working together and in cahoots and basically taking turns at who got to be the front guy and who got to look like they were in charge. My feeling has changed, though. I really do feel like there is a genuine war amongst the factions. That whatever tolerance they had for one another has just gone out the window.
Yep.
And whatever concessions they made for one another has gone out the window. And I think they're throwing each other under the bus.
Frantically throwing each other under the bus.
And a lot of what we're seeing play out is the factions, which may be where Putin and Trump play into this, the factions, a faction trying to step forward as its only hope is to take out the other guys publicly and look like the good guys, look like the saviors.
Yep.
But they're actually prepared to do it, not just look like they're doing it,
but
not
actually
just
do something.
But actually, because the animosity or the fear or I don't know, whatever's driving this, but it has reached a point now where it's kind of kill or be killed amongst them. And they're not playing anymore. That's how it feels to me. So if any faction's going to get out of this alive, so to speak, and not be lynched by the masses, they're going to have to genuinely take out their opposition and be seen doing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I was told too. Listen, years ago, when I was working all in the intel world and all that stuff, I was always told and cross-references through not just my own sources, but other people I've spoken to along the way and their sources that were, in some cases, very highly placed in various governments, etc. That there is purportedly a faction out there that are working from within to take down. And some of the shit that we're seeing right now, even within agencies, right? Within like the CIA, within the FBI, and not just, the American agencies, but fucking around the world, it could very well be right. But I do think that there's a rattling, like you said, within the factions. And that there is a last man standing. It's almost like King of the Hill, And
on top of what they've got going on amongst themselves, they've also got how to deal with us and what we're doing and what we're going through and what we're creating, and how to handle the fact that the construct is in fact collapsing. And maybe if they do the right thing by taking out a opposing faction, they'll get a do not go to jail pass or something. It's so multi-dimensional again.
Every facet.
I don't know, but I don't think that the teams are playing very well together anymore. I really don't. I think there's a genuine fight going on amongst them.
But a bunch of people have used the word reset. And that's what we keep talking about, is they're trying to make a reset. They're trying, and it keeps failing. And it just keeps failing. And I think they are trying to do a reset. And it's just not fucking working for them.
Another thought.
Not any facet of it is working for them.
Another thought is these changes are issuing from within everybody. And they're getting this sense that everyone's coming up to par. Everyone's coming up to an equal footing. And their whole routine has been based on they're separate, they're better, they're elite, they're somehow the chosen ones, whatever. And exactly. And on top of that, they realize that they really weren't elite. They really weren't any better. They really weren't any of the rest of this, because of the genetic pool that this world's all about is the point of this world. And their assumption that they have the right to control, to dominate, to own, to whatever, that's evaporating. And so when you pull the rug out from underneath all of their assumptions to the base of their power, what happens is everyone's scrambling for what's left. In other words, just a huge factional power grab and shift. And the fact that the masses, us regular folks, are coming up to par means that not only is there a new kid on the block, it's like everyone's coming up on the block. And that's hard to deal with.
Yeah, thank you. And we've gone 15, 17 minutes over time, but we've also got two people with their hand up.
Okay,
So,
I just want to say one little thing here. When we talk about a vacuum within the power structure, and they're all scrambling to try and take the place. So if those off-planet, interdimensional, astral, energetic, whatever you want to fucking call them, are no longer calling the shots, as we've surmised for a while, is that also plays a big part of this, I think, in that the power grab and how nothing sticks, and is like the scrambling of the mice running around trying to get the last piece of cheese. Yeah, the Hoover is going to suck them up. Yeah, just like suck them all up. Get a big ass vacuum for all those mice scrambling after fucking cheese.
there is no Lilu updates. I've had no communication with her via my computer, at least, for a couple of weeks. So there's no update on that. I've been asked several times during the chat, but there isn't anything.
There is no update.
And if there is, I'll let you know. But, okay, we've got somebody on the phone, 559. You're unmuted.
Hey, I don't normally watch TV, but you know, when I'm over at somebody's house, I'll catch something if they have their TV on. I caught, and it's on a mainstream network, and I think it's Fox. It is a new series coming out. I don't remember the name of it, but it's two normal guys. One ends up with a gigantic duffel bag that is a time machine. I don't know if anybody else has heard of this or saw the previews. They go back in time to change history.
And is it they start off with JFK?
Yes.
I've heard about it. It's called
Series of numbers, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a series of numbers. It's like 11, 23, 63, or 11, and it's the date that JFK was murdered on, was assassinated.
Yeah.
And those series of numbers of the date is the name of the show.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because I don't know if anybody else had seen it. So yeah, thank you.
221163.
Yeah, 221163. And I'd heard about it back in August when we first started talking about all these shows that were going to be coming out. I haven't seen it yet, though. So I guess it hasn't started. I thought it was supposed to start in November. I'd forgotten about it.
I saw the little snippet a couple of days ago, and I don't know if it started. I wasn't really paying attention until I started paying attention. And it's like, whoa. whoa. But a duffel bag. So.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for telling us and reminding me. I'll have to go looking for that.
All right. Thanks, guys.
See ya. Okay. And we've got David. You're unmuted.
Yeah, just to play off something you were talking about earlier that will tie into what you guys were just talking about, I'll make this really brief. And that's the whole thing about consensus. Consensus is the controllers or their agenda. Now, if we come back to the one thing that we can all agree on, which is we know what we know, we know what we don't know, and we all don't know what we don't know, that energetically closes the loop back on them and free floats us so that we're not involved in their game.
Elaborate.
You're gonna have to explain that again, huh?
So what part did you want me to explain on that? Because it's basically.
Oh, yeah, no, not all of it.
I'm sorry?
All of it.
All of it. Start again, because I didn't get it.
Okay. So the whole expectation of consensus is the controllers or their game. Okay?
The consensus reality is the one given to us. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Okay.
And if we go with what we can all agree on, which is we know what we know, we know what we don't know, and none of us knows what we don't know, that energetically closes the loop and separates us out from their game.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know,
there was a video that I did, I don't know, October, I think, with Donna and, might have been the one with Donna and Jenny, and talked about the questions that we ask. We're in a period right now where our questions, excuse me, are being answered, and how important it is to ask the right questions. And if enough of us ask just one question that is a powerful question, it'll get answered. And
Yes.
In terms of language, I don't know, we may all have issues with different words and whatever, and language convoluting things, but the feeling is that we are incredibly close to what we're calling home. You know, whatever that is, whether it's another construct, whether it's the original construct, whether it's just something outside of constructs altogether, whatever the hell it is. Outside of programming even, just. But the word home seems to be one that people can feel into without it triggering them too much. So even if the question that we could all agree on is, or the intention, the statement, whatever, you know, be home now, or open the door to home, or, you know, something that's home related, bring home to me, and whatever it is. That to me sounds like a really powerful question, and if enough people answer it, I think shit will have to happen.
Yeah, I've been sitting with that very same thing. Sorry, I'm like going through head cold stuff, so my voice is kind of weird.
We understand you though.
All right, thank you so much, ladies.
No
Thank
problem.
you.
We'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
There is no place like home.
There is no place like home. Where's those ruby slippers of yours, Dorothy?
I don't know. I think Toto might have chewed them.
Chewed them. Well, Groot's over here, and if you left them here, they're definitely fucking been eaten.
hey, you guys, I just want to add one thing. Michael's not in here, but he made a statement to me last night that just kind of blew my mind. He goes, you females are very powerful. He goes, you know, the ones that run this place don't have swinging dicks. That's what he said. He goes, you've been looking at the wrong people. And I was like, what do you mean? he goes, it's the queen bees that run this place. And he said, you know how I've been pro-Trump, so some of this was hard for me. But he said Trump Towers is an NSA building, a very powerful NSA building. They lost 2 NSA buildings with the Twin Towers, right? He said it's NSA. He said that if you look really close at Trump's wife, she is not what we think she is. And that she does not have the ability to procreate. She is not a clone, but she is not from here. And that she is really the one running the show. So I just want y'all to take that in for a minute, because that was kind of hard for me.
Well, listen, Dawn.
I'm telling you.
I went through, back in 2013, I was looking energetically when we were taking a look at some of the front men. We were taking a look at some of the front men. You said, other words, the Bushes, Dick Cheney, Tony Blair, all of this crew. And I went in looking energetically. And I went, basically, we were talking about the Texas camp. And I saw very, very clearly Barbara Bush. And she was the queen bee behind it all.
You bet she was.
She wore the pants in the family. There was no fucking doubt. And there was no soul in that woman. There was nothing human about her.
Nope.
At all. When I looked at her, it was like, holy fuck, what did I just see? And
hey, but what about with all these women? You know, it's like they're all saying that, obviously Michelle Obama, but many, many others are actually men. They're actually, they're transvestites. So again, it's like, don't think for a second a woman could be in this position. She's really a man.
Well, that's what they want you to believe, but he says they also use holographics.
Yeah.
That they can present in any way they freaking want to.
Yep. I agree.
And that's the power behind these men. It hasn't ever been about the men, even though we think it is. So
it's always the one behind. That was the one thing I remember. That was one of the conversations I had with Heather Giraffe years ago. And she was like, all these guys that you see up front, they're just the puppets. It's always the one behind them who's actually in charge. And they have no power. It's always the one behind them who calls the shots. It's never the one you see up front.
And look how Melania comes across. I mean, it's just perfect. But if you look at her and you tap into that energetic, it's very different.
When you look at animals that operate in a hive mentality, they're all run by a queen, right?
Mm-hmm.
He says that's the way it's run here. Queen bees run the planet. He goes, there's no swinging dicks. That's how he says it.
Oh, that's...
All right, guys, we should go. We are, way over time.
Way over time again. But I did
leave it on the note of swinging dicks. That's lovely.
And we're closing tonight's show with the swinging dicks. Or lack thereof. Yes. That's right. On this show, we cover every topic.
Yeah, I'd have loved to see the look on my face when he said all that last night.
And there is so much that we didn't get to talk about that we were going to. There's so much.
I didn't even get
post a lot of links.
I think Swinging Dicks is a great name for a band, by the way. This is Tina.
I'm sure it's taken.
Yeah, just a bit.
All right. See you guys next week. I will see you LMH members tomorrow for Collective Imagination. And bye for now.
That's all she wrote for this moment. Bye, guys.
Bye.